this is Astrid, and welcome back to the channel. I am back. I took a little bit of a hiatus and got myself back together, and I've been working a lot. And I wanted to kind of share with you some of the things that I've been learning about recording vocals and using vocals inside of Ableton. So, as you know, Ableton has limited functionality as far as vocal comping, and vocal comping, all it is a software feature that allows you to repetitively record vocals over and over and over again on a singular track, and it allows you to audition each one of those takes within the same track, so that you can kind of make comparisons between them and be able to kind of use whichever one that you want. Well, it's okay the way that I do it in Ableton. What I do is I have a grouped set of vocal tracks, or singular tracks rather. And what I do is, as I'm recording, I record whatever section that I'm working on, and then I'll go to the next section. Or if I'm doing like doubles, I'll just go to the next track. You know, again, I keep creating new tracks along the way so that I can still go back and audition things later after I'm in the mix process, and really working to understand which one of the takes works better. Now, what I've discovered is sometimes Ableton can be a little crazy with the warping feature. If you start moving things around, it really does affect the timing of the vocal snip that you're using. So you have to kind of be mindful of what timing that you're using. So let me just kind of show you what I'm talking about. So I downloaded this vocal snip from Looperman, and it was created by a gentleman named MC Norrad. Check out MC Norrad. He has an IG account, and he's pretty damn good. I'm very impressed. I reached out to him directly to see if I could do some sort of collaboration with him, but it sounds like what he's doing is just like what some of us producers are doing, is we're putting beats out there for leases. He's doing the same things with his lyrics. I think he just kind of put these snips out on Looperman as advertisement for what he's trying to do, which is cool. I mean, it's a good way to make some extra cash. Anyway, so I downloaded this one from Looperman, and my first thing is it was in MP3 format, which is kind of nasty. MP3 format has a very bit reduction rate value to it, and I'm just going to show you what it sounds like with all of the stuff turned off that I did to it. So let's just kind of start there first.
You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have the right caption. Always flexing prices if it shows some kind of muscle, but can even pick up somebody out of the fucking struggle.
Okay, so it's recorded very good from a dynamic standpoint, so there's not too many highs and pitches and weird things happening in it. But this actual snippet was originally an 85 BPM. I think that's what BPM it's in. Hold on, let me just go back and double check. I think that's what it was.
Lately I've been going through your pictures, flipping through the book. I can't believe you ain't with us, missing every minute, cause everything is
I think it was originally in either 80 or 85 BPM. Well, you know that you can change that in Ableton. Sometimes when you're working with vocals that are in a different tempo, you really have to be mindful of if matching the song. Even though it's an 85, I have to speed it up so that it slows the vocal down. And I know that sounds weird, but that's just exactly how it works. So if you speed it up, it based upon the BPM that you're setting it to, it kind of slows down the vocal track. And then I also have to you have to mess with the warp marker sometimes to make sure that it falls on the beat. I still have a little bit of trouble with this one. There's one little spot where he switches up what he's saying, and it doesn't quite 100% mesh, but after he gets past that little spot, it gets back in tempo. So I've tried to like really focus on trying to fix that, or at least make it smoother to where it's not falling apart. And let me just kind of show you what that sounds like, that little part.
Well, I forgot you run the block on the spot. You a man now. I finally get it. I see it. I understand now. Oh.
So it's that whole little section right there. It gets a little wiry when I start playing it with the beat, and so that's what it sounds like. Let me go back here and let me show you what I did with the vocals. So I have been experimenting a lot with creating my own vocal chains, and I've had to do this because I was working with an artist locally, and I was really struggling with how to implement his voice in with the track. And I've done a lot of like listening to reference material to see exactly what's happening from the mainstream music perspective. It's not about the DAW. It's more about what effects they're using on the voice to be able to get it to sit in the mix. And what I found that works is gating. And I didn't realize how important gating was. Gating actually suppresses a lot of that room noise out of the recording. And let me just kind of show you what I'm talking about. Let me see if I can like bypass some of this other stuff that I have going on. So, I've been using the Shep's Omni channel as my primary tool. So let me turn off all this other stuff so you can just kind of hear what I'm talking about. And I'm going to turn off all the other things that are going on so you can kind of hear what that gate sounds like when it opens and closes. So the gating really tightens up the vocal, and it makes it so that it's every syllable is kind of accented. It really enhances that crispness of what's being said. And let me just go back. Let me flip this back and let's just isolate this little section so you can kind of hear it.
You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have the right to caption. Always flexing prices if it shows some kind of muscle, but can even pick up somebody out of the fucking struggle.
Okay, so right now I've got my clothes set pretty tight, so let me loosen it up a little bit. And I'm going to start back over here.
You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have the right to caption. Always flexing prices if it shows some kind of muscle, but can even pick up somebody out of the fucking struggle. You rather brag about your money.
Okay, so that sounds more natural. I didn't want it to be robotic. When it gets robotic, it starts sounding like it's in a bad room, like it's slapping up against the vocal. Each transient gets really nasty sounding. So also I probably can reduce the attack a little bit too, maybe down to 0.3. Let's try that again.
You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have the right to caption.
Okay, so it sounds more natural, sounds, more human rather. So I'm going to add some compression. The other thing that I learned is compression. Compression makes it sound, it has that shimmer that you normally hear on vocals on records. So most of the time and everything that I've heard from a production perspective, the vocals are sitting right in the center, or the lead vocal sits right in the center. But what makes it sound a special way is the compression. The compression adds like this interesting top shimmer to it. It's really hard to hear it unless you really are, you're really experimenting with it enough to really understand what's happening. And what I've been doing is really trying to train my ears to understand what's happening with the compression. Now, mind you that the original recording probably had some compression on top of it as well, so I don't want to get crazy with it because then it starts sounding really robotic again, and kind of unnatural. Um, Also, I don't know what kind of preamp he was using and what kind of mic he was using, so those things kind of come into play when you're messing with vocal recordings. Personally, what I've been using in my studios, I've been using the Neve TLM 102. TLM 102 has a specific type of tonality to it. It has a little bit of a sharp top end, but the Neumann TLMs are known for that. They have kind of a interesting top end to them, so you almost have to kind of dial them back from the high end perspective, depending on what voice that you're matching it up with. I found it to be really good with rap vocals. I've been pairing it lately with the UAD new version of. Let me show you. Come on, Luna, what's going on? So I've been having a lot of trouble with Luna lately, just crashing. I went through the update, um, and it is still just kind of unstable on my Mac. Um, okay, so I've been using the Avalon VT737 as my preamp, combined with the Neumann TLM 102, and it actually does sound very good. The Avalon has, I call it the broadcaster sound because it's what you hear a lot on radio broadcasts. It's a very warm, very tube sounding kind of preamp, and it sounds very good when it's matched with that mic with that interesting top end. But this recording, because it came from, Looperman, I don't know what was used on top of it, and I can't add anything on top of that from a preamp perspective because it's not going to make a difference. And it actually will degrade the quality of the way it sounds. So, but what I can do is I can tinker with the compression, and I'm going to do that. Let's kind of see where we are right now.
You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have the right caption. Always flexing prices if it shows some kind of muscle, but can even pick up somebody out of the fucking struggle. You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have the right caption. Always flexing prices if it shows some kind of muscle, but can even pick up somebody out of the fucking struggle. You rather brag about your money than... Okay,
so I've been, because it's probably already has some compression on it, and also the quality of the snip itself, because it is an MP3, it has a bit of a nasty, trashy sound to it already. There's a bit reduction to it, so there's nothing I can do to fix that. But I can add some compression to it to try to smooth it out some, and that's what I've been doing. So the next thing I want to add is some EQ. Let's kind of go through that.
You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have the right caption. Always flexing.
Okay, so what that does is adds some brightness to it, brightens things up. So I ended up adding a little bit more highs to it. Changed the tone as well because I really wasn't happy with where it was. I adjusted the mids to bring out the mid-range in it just a touch, and it did brighten it up quite a bit.
You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have the right caption. Always flexing prices if it's...
Okay, so the next thing is the de-esser. The de-esser, again, it's more or less part of the vocal recording chain. I can't tell if it was de-essed. It's really hard for me to tell it. I don't hear a lot of sharp S's in this.
You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have to write a caption. Always flexing prices if it shows some
Okay, we'll go ahead and just add it, but I want to make sure that it's not added, it's not degrading instead of adding to it. So I don't hear a lot of sharp S's, so it sounds like it was already de-essed as it was being recorded. But again, I'm just going to put some light de-essing in there, and I was trying to keep it at like -3 there.
You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have to write a caption. Always flexing prices if it shows some kind of muscle, but can even pick up somebody out of the fucking struggle. You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give.
Okay, so the next thing is this Shep's Omni channel has saturation in there. Saturation adds noise. Sometimes it's okay and sometimes not okay. And that's the magic thing that I've just learned as well. So the Luna, it highlights the tape saturation. Tape saturation does not always sound good on everything. So I have it turned off currently. What I've been doing is I've added the Fairchild 670 to it. The 670 has a very warm tube sound to it, so I've been using that as my limiter. I've also added the L3 maximizer because I need to raise the volume of things a little bit, and I've got the out ceiling set to -2. When I bring it into the ozone, I need to make sure that I still have enough headroom so that I'm not, trashing my master. I like to do my volume settings at -14. That's just a standard LUFS value for streaming. A lot of people they still use the old CD values, which would be like an RMS value. But in the LUFS realm, it would be like a -11, which is extremely loud. -11, -8, those are very, very loud recordings. I just don't like that loudness. I like to keep it down in the -14s because if I throw it up on the streaming sites, what happens is anything that's super duper loud gets volume normalized and reduced, which introduces noise into it. And also, if it's already loud, it starts sounding distorted. So I've learned to just kind of stay away from super loud recordings. Loud is not always good. So I've been kind of experimenting with that. The other thing that I have been experimenting with and have discovered some things about is this Neve summing. The Neve summing, while it is a very good plugin, it adds a lot of top end, either low or high sound quality, meaning that the lows are accentuated or the highs are accentuated, and that's kind of what it does. Is it kind of blends things in a way based upon your settings. If you set it high, it will kind of massage the highs and enhance them a little bit more, and it smooths them in a way. So I've been kind of being careful with this. I try to keep the settings kind of close to the same, depending on what I'm working on, but I've had to lately just adjust this quite a bit. I wish that Luna had the console recall plugin included with it so that I can pull that into my Ableton session so that it would remember my settings for each song, but that has not happened, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. I really wish that UAD would just make these plugins part of the console, period, and that would resolve a lot of the issues. I use this because I can use the Neve summing, and it, from a sound quality perspective, I haven't noticed any big difference other than, the summing. It does add something. It adds a top shimmer to the recording. And I've been more mindful of my inserts. I can't put all of these inserts in Ableton because it introduces a large amount of latency. That's the other reason why I've been using the UAD Luna as well. It handles these plugins a little bit better from a compute perspective. It keeps them from being laggy and introducing a large amount of latency, even though they're not designed 100% to be compatible with UAD's formula that they use for their real-time recording. But from a technical perspective, they've done a very good job with making these plugins behave inside of the program. Now, I did come across some issues here lately, and I've reported this to UAD. This tape plugin has a bug. When you open it up and you go to look at the properties, it crashes Luna. I don't know why that keeps happening. I can mimic that, but I don't want to crash it right now. But yeah, if you go into the properties setting and you want to change the saturation properties to one of the presets, it crashes the program and you can't really do it. The only way that you can get it to work is by removing it, and then when you add it back, it allows you to be able to change the presets from there. But other than that, I'm not struggling too much with it. I'm still using it because it gives me that latency-free sound that I need to be able to use that amount of plugins on my master. Okay, so the saturation, I try to keep it to like a minimal because again, it is saturation. It's introducing noise. Let me turn off all this other stuff so you can kind of hear what it sounds like, and let's kind of go from there.
You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have to write a caption.
Okay, so I'm going to turn it all the way up so that you can hear it. It's so light that you can't really hear it when it's low, but when it's high, it makes a big difference.
You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have to write a cap.
So see what I'm saying? It adds noise. And I don't want it to add too much noise because this recording has a lot of bit reduction in it already, and it will make it sound very trashy.
You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have to write a caption. Always flexing prices if it shows some kind of muscle.
Okay, so the other thing that I've learned about is reverb. Yes, I have said so many times before in the past that I hate it. I do not like reverbs. I don't like the way that they sound. And I don't know why I can hear this, but they sound like reproduced noise to me. I don't know why. They all do. They sound like reproduced white noise. Some of them are better than others, and some of them are not. I've tried the Waves Reverb, same thing. I've just started using the Slate Digital lustrous plates. Sounds like white noise to me too. But this one, I like it because it gives you a little bit more flexibility with the type of plates. And also you can change the width settings. And not that you can't do this with the other ones. I think this one sounds better to me from a sound quality perspective. I've been using it lightly because what it does is it adds room to your vocal chain. And it's important to have room because otherwise it would sound like they're singing in a box. And let me just kind of show you what I'm talking about.
You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a back.
See how that sounds like they're singing in a box? But when you add reverb, it opens it up.
You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have to write a caption. Always flexing prices if it shows some kind of muscle, but can even pick up somebody out of the fucking struggle. You rather brag about.
Now my problem is finding the right settings for it. I don't particularly like for it to ring out a whole lot. Again, because I don't like it to begin with, but I know that it's needed to be able to add life to the recording.
You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have to write a caption. Always flexing prices if it shows some kind of muscle, but can even pick up somebody out of the fucking struggle. You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have to write a caption. Always flexing prices if it shows some kind of muscle, but can even pick up somebody out of the fucking struggle. You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless and have to write.
Okay, so that's livable. It still has like a little bit of an ugly ring out to me at the end. I could probably tinker around some more with this width settings.
You rather brag about your money that you always flashing than to give a bag to somebody homeless.
Okay, so that's okay to me. So from there, I'm just gonna add back the vocal rider. Again, the vocal rider just kind of rides the volume to make sure it doesn't have a lot of bunch of peaks along with the music. So add that back, and I'll add. Oh, I've been using auto tune. So the way that I've been using auto tune, it just catches a lot of the nasty stuff. But when I'm using it live, I have to add it as an insert in with the vocal chain so that the artist can actually hear the thing. I can't do it within Ableton because I'm not monitoring the vocals in Ableton on my vocal track. And let me just kind of show you what I'm talking about. So I can't monitor it on within Ableton because it creates a big loop and it causes latency. So I totally turned the monitoring within Ableton off for vocals and only use the UAD's monitoring so that the vocalists can hear themselves as well as hear any effects that they want added while they're doing their thing locally. So that has worked out very well. I'm pretty happy with how that's working. The only thing I hate about auto-tune is that you really need to be mindful of what key the song is in. So before you start, you have to make sure you figure out what key the song is in so that the thing tunes right. Otherwise, it sounds like shit, and you don't want it sounding like shit because it starts sounding all robotic and crazy and stupid. So also, what I've been noticing is that I have to use the humanize feature just a little bit more because I don't like the way it gets into that real robotic-y ass, ugly robotic-y sound. But it does retune at about 10. Sometimes I'll bump it up to 19. That's as high as I've been able to get. And I've used the flex tune as well. Flex tune kind of calms it down from doing all that crazy robotic stuff. But it still sounds like auto-tune. Also, my other thing that I found out with this is that there's a bug with auto-tune inside of Luna. So if you're changing the settings, like if I change the settings here, like this song is in F, it's going to be major. And watch this. So I'll close out of it, and when you go back to look at the settings again, it changes the damn thing back to the wrong settings. So when I'm working in a session, I have to keep this open to make sure that it stays in key, which sucks. So yeah, I've been having a little bit of trouble with Luna lately. But let's get back on track. Let's talk about this track. So this track, I did all this stuff by hand. I'm going to play you a clip of the guitar, what I was doing with the guitar. So I did a long take of the guitar and I took snips out of my playing, because there's not any comping. I played through the whole thing and went through and I took out parts that I liked and got rid of the stuff that I didn't like. So I've been experimenting with playing with the wah pedal. Wah pedal is really interesting. It's very rhythmic. You have to keep in time with it to get it to work right. It's a lot of fun. I've also finally dialed in the tone that I like to use with my guitar. Oh, that has been such a struggle for me, finding a really good tone that works. So what I ended up doing is I have a Vertex pedal called the Niley. The Niley has a preamp on it and it's a compressor. So I've dialed in the settings I like with that, and it gives it a very rich and thick tone before it even hits the rest of the chain. So all I use is that and the wah pedal, and there's a delay in there. I've been using the Seymour Duncan Dark Sun, and the Dark Sun is a combination of a delay and a reverb, but I've dialed it back some because without a lot of the reverb, and I'm using more of the delay, but it's dialed down. So that's been working pretty well for me, those combinations. But I also have everything running through the Firehawk 1500 amp, and that amp has a built-in effects rack. So I've been using a clean tone out of there that has its own amp cabinet emulation. That amp cabinet emulation is more of a clean style cabinet. So it gives me a nice kind of jazzy cabinet sound that I've been liking that. And I've got that saved in there. So, that's the really cool thing about the Firehawk 2 is you can save your presets for future reference. So I've been doing a lot of just experimentation with guitar sounds, tones, trying to dial into my playing a little bit more, trying to, get a little bit better. You don't get better unless you play. It's not always great, but the more you play, the better you get. That's exactly how it works. So I've added that in there, and I was playing around with some keys. I've been doing a lot of just playing keys lately, doing a lot of chords, trying to expand my chord knowledge and stretch out from where I'm normally doing. So I've been doing a lot of that, and I've got a bass in there. The bass is a Scarby pre-bass, and I've bumped it up from a sound perspective with the Little Labs Voice of God, which really amplifies the low end quite a bit, gives you more of a bump at the end. From there, I have a let's see, what is this sound? Hold on, let me oh, you know what? I originally had another guitar sound in there, but I opted to not use that because I wanted to play the guitar. So I still have that in there, but it's turned off. I've got some addictive drums in there. I originally started out making it acoustic, but I wasn't quite happy with those, so I turned those off as well. So those 3 tracks are just extras. So I've got a Mellotron in there. It's doing this. So I've got some strings, and I've got them doing very degraded kind of sound. Also, they're heavily reverbed, which makes them sound dreamy. I've got an RC20 in there. It's doing that pad magic setting. And I've got some a low end cutoff just to keep it out of the sub range. So that's what that's doing. I've got some drums in there. Again, just kind of a kick, snare, hi-hat thing. Nothing spectacular. I am using, however, the virtual mixer or virtual mix rack on it, and I'm using the polished drum bus on it to make the drums sound a little bit snappier. I really like this plugin, or in this preset. It really does enhance the drums in a really individual or very dynamic way. I really like this revival. It gives it a lot of punch, a punch and snap at the top, on the top end, and the shimmer. I don't know if I would call that shimmer. It adds like a little bit of high end to it, on top of this EQ that's in there. Whew, sorry about that. This compressor is pretty good. It does good job of keeping things tight. So I really like that. And let's see what else is in here. It's the vocals. Oh, I've got another vocal snip in here. It's just doing this. Nothing spectacular. Okay, so I'm using the Slate Digital virtual mix rack on this, and I've got the pop vocal preset on it, which adds a compressor and an EQ, analog EQ style, and it gives it a very nice kind of old school analogish sound. I'm using an Echo Boy to give it a little bit of the classic analog delay to it at a high mix rate, so it gives it a lot of echo at the end. And that's it for this track. Again, I've been learning a lot about vocals and really trying to improve my mixes. I had to learn a hard way about tape saturation, by taking all of this stuff out of my master chain and just one by one going through, turning things on and off to see what it's doing to my overall sound quality. And I've found that the Studer, while it does sound good on some things, it does not sound good on everything at all. And I guess it really depends on what sound you're going for. That is all I've got for this one. I'm going to be posting up more videos on a regular basis, trying to get back into the groove of things. I've got a lot of good content lined up for the next couple of weeks. Sitting down, doing some different things, and really trying to make things better on the channel as well. I'm going to be doing some intermixing things with my IG account and maybe Twitter too. Just trying to improve overall. So I'm always learning and growing, reading books about marketing, doing a lot of research, also doing some networking locally. I've been reaching out to people on IG, trying to do collaborations and that kind of thing. The collaborations have not been going as well as I want. People are very weird to me with collaborations. And I don't know why I'm experiencing this. And I've talked to another friend of mine who's a producer too, and he told me that he's gone through so many sessions with people, and they all kind of have the same type of attitude where they get into your space and they want to waste your time, because if you're doing it for free, they just waste your time, and they don't really care about what you're doing and how you're doing it. And it really is frustrating when you're working really hard to try to mix and blend and create music with somebody, and they're just not being mindful of the things that you're doing. It gets a little frustrating. And when you're working with somebody, you're supposed to be it's a team project. So if I'm bouncing ideas off of you, asking you about what you think about a mix, you would expect to get an answer back, and a straight answer, not some silly shit. But that doesn't always work that way. And I realize that not everybody's production a production head like, we are. But people know what they like from a sound perspective. It just really is frustrating finding people that are willing and flexible to be able to work together in a true collaborative way. Also finding people who for whatever reason they reach out to you, they want to do a collaboration, and then they disappear forever, and then they all of a sudden they pop back up and they want to work again. I'm not doing it. I don't have time. If you're going to work with somebody, it's a professional endeavor. You should be on time for your sessions. You should be mindful of people's time and what they have going, especially if they start working on music for you. You don't just disappear and all of a sudden you're sending people DMs and emails talking about, hey, what's going on? I'm ready to work. Dude, I haven't talked to you in weeks. What are you talking about? So it's just that kind of stuff. Working with artists is, oh my God, it is so different. And I realize that not all artists are like this. And a lot of artists like you to come in to the studio and they like to have you create the track while you're there, that's nerve-wracking because you're spending hours and hours sitting there making beats, and they either put in input or they're vibing with it or not. It's just kind of weird to me. Seeing like when the guys are on IG and they're doing those live jam sessions, coming up with stuff, that's time consuming. It's real time consuming. It burns time, and I don't understand why they do it. But I kind of understand how and why they do it, because they want to be able to get some fresh ideas and be able to, sometimes you come up with good stuff that way, but that's a big burn of time. I don't understand it. Anyway, so that is all I have for this one, and I'd appreciate it if you guys would continue to support the channel. The only way that you can support me, and I'm not asking anybody for money, I don't ask people for anything that I wouldn't want for myself, but if you could help me by clicking on the like button, that helps to at least keep my video in the flow. It doesn't necessarily add an addition to the algorithm. It does help to keep the video in the flow at least, though. So if you guys can help me out, that would be great, and I'd be very appreciative of that. That's all I've got, and I'll see you on the next one.
Brag about your money that you always flashing, then to give a bag to somebody homeless and have to write a caption. Always flexing prices if it shows some kind of muscle, but can even pick up somebody out of the fucking struggle. I forgot you run the block on the spot. You a man now, I finally get it, I see it, I understand now. All the weight up on your shoulders makes you feel like you invincible. Or since you been in prison, they gon' sense that you a different dude. Nobody give a fuck about the city that they from. Rather have a competition, not work together as one. Everybody getting heated, it's like we touching the sun. How come we can never hold a peace without waving a gun? I'm so tired of being fired and wired up with this life shit. Never get too close cause you never know when they might switch. Say they had your back, but when you die, that's when the lie hits. Living in this ghetto, we never know when the light is.